Lewis said, "When I was my happiest was when I longed the most." Longing is a great sweetness in my life. It's the longing that draws me to find the place of the source of all that beauty. So it's that longing that draws us. Last week we started the book, The Keeper's Way, The Seeker's Way. The Seeker's Way. And we learned that we seek to find what is missing in our lives. And we seek because it's our innate nature to seek. We seek for answers to those questions that we can't intellectually answer, that propels us on our spiritual seeking. We seek for those human things that we read about in our daily word today. The house, the fashionable clothing, we seek for those things. But we also seek for that spiritual enlightenment. We seek for answers, deep, true answers. And it's good to have answers. It's also very good to be very loosely attached to those answers. If we get too attached, we stop seeking. We get comfortable. We become stagnant and perhaps even overconfident in our answers. Matthew 7 tells us to seek and we shall find. So the question rose for me is, if I seek and I find, how do I keep that energy and momentum to keep on seeking? How do I find that motivation? And in The Seeker's Way, David Fleming tells us that we do this by remaining vulnerable, that we keep our walls, our barriers, our boundaries that cause us to resist life, we keep them down and in check. And by keeping our resistance down, we're able to live the experience of life through that vulnerability. And then we're able to be transformed by life. When we open our heart space and we allow ourselves to feel and to move from that space of our love, we move away from the sure and uncertainty of what we have discovered intellectually to be our answers, and we move into our heart and live those life experiences. We can move in our world with loving kindness, with compassion, and with grace. And we can continue to seek a better, stronger, deeper relationship with that divine mystery of life. And this richness means that we move away from having that perfect answer to that unknown, the uncertainty of the unknown. And today we're going to talk about moving from the activity of life to the meaning of life. And we talk about it a little bit in the e-news. And sitting in my office, I realize that I am in a very protected environment. I walk through this sanctuary and I'm reminded that I'm a spiritual being. Just by being here, it is a perfect reminder that I am a spiritual being. Yet I've worked in the corporate world for many years, and I know that when I was out there in that part of the world, it was really easy for me to forget that I was spiritual before anything. In the midst of the corporate structures, the office politics, the pressure to constantly be more productive and more profitable, it was sometimes easy to forget what I was. Here, it's easy to remember. My office overlooks Catherine's courtyard. And I look around the beauty of that space. It's easy to remember I'm a spiritual being. Sitting in here with all the prayers of all the people who have come before since the 1920s. That energy is palpable here. You feel it when you walk in. It's easy for me to remember I'm a spiritual being. I don't think that that's going to change anytime soon here. You feel it when you arrive on Sunday morning and you fill this room with your love and your energy. That energy of love lingers long after you have gone. Monday morning, it's still vibrating with your love. David Fleming says that this unification of our spiritual being and our human being is exactly what we're searching for. To live life from a place where the division of what is tangible and what is spiritual disappears. Because when we live from that place, we are vitalized and energized and livened from the inside to the outside. And that's the beauty in living. He says that we sometimes live with that division that makes our daily activities feel less than the gift that they truly are. That the separation causes us to miss the sacred in the seemingly ordinary moments. In hindsight, have you ever looked back on an experience and realized that you were indeed experiencing something very sacred? Something that was not ordinary in any way. The idea of moving from the activity of living to the meaning of living isn't done by negating the activity. It's about shifting how we look at what we do. It's about living in an awareness that everything we do, everything has meaning. So let's do it with passion. Let's do it with enthusiasm. Let's do it with wonder. Scripture tells us in Matthew, "Truly I say to you, unless you become as a child, you shall not enter the kingdom of heaven." So think about the last time you watched a child go through the world. How does a child experience the world? By touching, by holding, by feeling, by embracing it with a great deal of enthusiasm. So perhaps we can be as a child and look at our world, our day, with that same easy, breezy enthusiasm. Think about the breakfast you ate this morning. And that's if you had breakfast. Did you take in the aroma? Did you sit before your meal and really see the color and the texture of the food before you? And did you express gratitude for that food? Did you pause to give thanks and savor every ingredient in every bite? And did you appreciate how that food got to your refrigerator and to your plate and to your belly? This is what our Buddhist brothers and sisters call living mindfully, appreciating every aspect of every activity. Or did you just gobble your breakfast down so that you could be to church on time? Aha, there's the bed shaking. Yes. Well, we feed and nourish our human body the same way we nurture and feed our spiritual body. There is in most of us a great desire to have days and lives that are filled with meaning. When we rush about to keep up with the fast-paced lifestyle that we're called to live right now in today's times, is it any wonder that we have a difficult time finding meaning? When we spend time rehashing, reliving the past, yesterday, or we spend time worrying about the future, is there any wonder that we have a difficult time finding meaning in the today? When we are tweeting and texting and instant messaging isn't it any wonder that we search for meaningful connections? Do you remember kitchen table talks? There's a whole book written about kitchen table talks. We used to do it growing up at my grandma's house. My grandma had a big family, and Europeans still do it. It's a mealtime that is a social event. People gather and spend hours at the kitchen table, talking, eating, sharing their stories of the day or of the week. When was the last time we did that? This week, did you sit and savor a meal with someone without regard to how long it took, or how long you have been sitting at the table, and all the joy, all the intimacy that rises in those moments? We have a spirit group called Couples Date Night. Did anyone here go to Couples Date Night this week? Okay, tell us about the communion of that, please. Someone?
Well, it was, we started this, Mark and Teresa started with the idea of, and first time we just had a few couples, and then next time a few more and a few more. And what happens is, you're in a place where you really have the time and the energy to really get to know each other. And where's Ben? Ben and I had the most wonderful talk about his background that I never knew about, and really came to appreciate his path and where he's been. And there's just a feeling of such community and love in that group. And so, if you haven't been, and you're any kind of couple, or bring a couple. And we meet at this wonderful Italian restaurant and have a great time. So I really encourage you. It has been so meaningful to us to participate in that. Yeah.
This is the vulnerability of life. It's sharing from our heart and allowing us to receive from others. We have a number of spirit groups that you are most welcome to be part of. This is the meaning of the activity of our life. So moving from activity to meaning, for me, was really interesting this week. And it went something like this. After the service today, I am packed, my clothes are in my car, and I am driving to Abbey of Gethsemane in Kentucky, where I will spend a contemplative week in silence. So preparing for today's service meant that I also prepared for next week's service and some double duty of tasks. It also means that I was doing a little project for the board that will move us into our next phase of Renew, Refresh, Restore. I felt a little busy, but I wasn't worried because I have an affirmation that's perfect for these moments. I have the time, energy, and resources to do all that is mine to do with ease, joy, and grace. That was my affirmation. That affirmation I've used for 10 years. It has gotten me through many, many moments where I felt overwhelmed. It got me through all my classes to become a licensed Unity teacher. It's getting me through my field licensing, and it's a very effective affirmation.